This meeting will now come to order. As a part of the continued efforts to prevent the spread of novel coronavirus, COVID-19, this meeting is being conducted by video teleconference. We welcome those of you joining us via the meeting portal and hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy. I will now ask Member Eli Edwards to read the EPSB mission statement.
The Education Professional Standards Board, in full collaboration and cooperation with its education partners, promotes high levels of student achievement by establishing and enforcing rigorous professional standards for preparation, certification, and responsible and ethical behavior of all professional educators in Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Joining us from the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet as the designee for the Lieutenant Governor is John Lyons. Leah Sharp from the Office of Legal Services will administer the oath to Mr. Lyons to swear him into the EPSB. Thank you both for joining us.
Mr. Lyons, I will ask you to raise your right hand and I will read the oath in its entirety and then ask you to swear or affirm at the end. I do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute, to the best of my ability, the office of Board Member of the Education Professional Standards Board according to law. And I do further solemnly swear or affirm that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state, nor out of it, nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God.
I affirm.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes, I do affirm it.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the EPSB, Mr. Lyons. We look forward to hearing your report from the Cabinet a little later in the meeting, but at this time, would you please take a few moments to introduce yourself to the other members?
Good morning. I'm John Lyons. I'm currently the Executive Director for the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. Have been, before joining the Cabinet here, was a lifetime educator, 27 years in education, the last 20 as a building level principal. Before moving over to try to work not only with education, but to make education more effective and efficient in serving the needs for our workforce in our state. And I'm really excited to be working here with the Professional Standards Board.
Thank you. We are glad to have you on the board with us. Sharon Chesser joins us today as Board Secretary. Ms. Chesser, thank you for joining us, and please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair. Amanda Ellis.
Amanda Ellis, present.
John Lyons.
John Lyons, present.
Elijah Edwards.
Elijah Edwards, present.
Kathy Gunn.
Kathy Gunn, present.
Donna Hedgepath.
Donna Hedgepath, present.
Tracy Hunt.
Tracy Hunt, present.
Jacqueline Mayfield.
Jacqueline Mayfield, present.
Justin Mitchell.
Justin Mitchell, present.
Sherry Powers.
Sherry Powers, present.
Lisa Rudzinski.
Lisa Rudzinski, present.
Amber Snell.
Amber Snell, present.
Carmen Souter. Julian Vasquez, colleague.
Julian Vasquez, High Lake, present.
We have quorum.
Thank you. We will now move to the consent items. The following items are listed on the agenda as consent items. Letter A, approval of the February 8, 2021 EPSB meeting minutes. And letter B, emergency non-certified personnel program. Does anyone wish to remove either of the items from the consent agenda for further discussion? Having received no requests to remove items from the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve consent items A and B?
Sherry Powers, so moved.
Tracy Hunt, second.
Dr. Powers with the motion, Ms. Hunt with the second. The motion before the board is to approve consent items A and B. As this meeting is being conducted via video teleconference, we will now have a roll call vote for each vote. Ms. Chesser will call the roll. I would like to remind each board member to please state their name, pause for a moment, and then state their vote. Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approved.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approved.
Julian Vasquez, highly
Julian Vasquez, highly approved.
voting is complete.
And the motion passes. Today, Commissioner of Education and Chief Learner, Dr. Jason Glass, joins us as Executive Secretary to the EPSB. I will now recognize Commissioner Glass to provide his report. Welcome, Commissioner Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll work to be brief in my report. The Kentucky Department of Education and the staff at EPSB have been busy post-session following up on some of the items that were passed into law. One of those things that we've spent an extraordinary amount of time on that probably is going to impact a small number of students is Senate Bill 128 that provides the additional year for repeating or supplementing this past year out of concerns around what students missed out on due to COVID impacts. The intent of that is certainly to allow students to make up for or repeat or re-experience things that they otherwise would not have had. The devil is in the details, and that it creates layers of complexity when it comes to what courses the students are allowed to take, how it impacts their progression toward credits for graduation, measures around things such as graduation rates that are used for accountability, how they're used or how those students participate in the state testing system, funding questions. So there's just layers of that, and that's not even counting the athletic considerations and activities considerations that KHSAA has also been answering. So I think we've worked through those and have put forth guidance both on the KDE side and on the KHSAA side to provide some clarity around that, but we'll see how this works out. Most of the impact is going to be, excuse me, for this next year, but because we may have students that are not seniors that are taking advantage of this, we may have multi-year impacts. We'll have to consider what those look like. Some positives that emerged from the legislative session was the addition of kindergarten funding for this next school year. So we're excited about that and how that will inject new dollars into the K-12 system. There's also late in the session was the addition of about $127 million for construction, school construction purposes that will run through the SFCC and another $75 million that are used to be used for locally operated career technical education centers. So those are positives. I know that 127 million and 75 million sound like and are a lot of money, but in the scale of school construction, it will go very quickly. But we'll have some of those needs that are really high on our list of priorities around the state that we'll be able to do some good with around this. Another complexity that we'll be working on relates to the school choice and tax credit bill, House Bill 563, that contained two parts. The part of that we're really focused on and working on is the public school choice side, particularly the element that directs the Kentucky Department of Education to devise a mechanism for moving local funds, not just the SEEK funds, as students move from one district to another. There are constitutional challenges that will bring. So that really will be the work for us, is to try and devise a way to do what the legislature is asking of us. Find a way to allow those funds to transfer between districts and not create a constitutional challenge. Whatever we come forward with is probably going to be litigated, so we'll have a court ultimately decide what that looks like. KDE hasn't been involved and doesn't intend to be involved on the private school tax credit side of the equation. All that's administered through the Department of Revenue, so we defer to them on questions. Just other things that are high priority for us right now. The state has gotten now part of its third wave of federal COVID relief funding with, we're calling it ESSER 3, just to keep track of it and perhaps easier. It's the American Rescue Plan funds that will be over $2 billion for K-12 education for Kentucky. It's a largest infusion of federal dollars. There are some more restrictions and hoops to work through with this batch of funds than there have been in the previous two rounds, but we really think those are manageable and navigable for districts. We have gotten some guidance from the U.S. Department of Education to assist with that, and over the next 30 to 60 days, I expect we'll be rolling out that to districts along with guidance to them. So we're excited about what districts will be able to do with these funds to create experiences for students really over the next 3 years. The U.S. Department of Education is using the Tidings Amendment to allow for an extra year of expenditures related to these funds. That's going to help a lot because it's a lot of money to push through K-12 education when we can't reach out and create a third more staff or something. And these are the same people in the same systems doing the same work. So while there may be some partnerships with other organizations to bring these services to students, largely it's going to be moving these funds through the systems that we have. And so scaling that up and then tailing it down by September 2024 is going to be the work ahead. I want to update you on the associate commissioner search for EPSB. Of course, some of you, all of you probably know that Rob Akers has announced his retirement. We're devastated by that, Rob. We're really going to miss working with you. It's been a delight, just personally, these past few months, getting to work closely with you and seeing the work that you've done and the impact that you've had on the state. So please know that you leave us in a good place, and we're grateful for all of the service that you have provided to the state of Kentucky. But you leave some big shoes to fill, too. So we have had the position posted for about the past month. I haven't had a chance to review all of the latest applicants that have come in, but I did see that we had 15 last week, and that's even before the last week of it being open. So I assume we're over that number. I'll check on that today. I am going to involve the EPSB in the search process, and I've talked with or exchanged emails with Chair Rosinsky about how that will look. So I'd like the EPSB to actually do the paper screening entirely. And so Chair Rosinsky is going to select a group of EPSB members this week to look at the applications that have come in and screen that down to an interviewable number. So the EPSB will actually have the first shot at sorting down the number of candidates we have. Then we'll have an interview committee that'll be made up of other associate commissioners at KDE, and Chair Rudzinski, she'll be involved too, that will actually conduct the interviews on that group that we've screened down to. And the goal of that interview team will be to send to me a finalist or perhaps multiple finalists if the group doesn't have a clear consensus around who the selectee is. And I will then conduct the final interview in the last in the final selection. So our hope is that we can get all of this done in about a 2-week period. I know that's really aggressive. We may not be able to make that, but we'll work toward that goal. I appreciate the chance to report to all of you this morning, and there's my dog. She says it's time to get off the call here, I think. So I'm going to turn things over to Rob to update you just on anything specific to his division. And Rob, once again, thank you for all the work that you've done, and we're going to miss you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Glass. It's been a privilege. If you don't mind, since I'm going to be a little bit lengthy in my report, if we could let the other two go first from Workforce and from CPE, if that's okay with you, Dr. Glass and Chair.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you all want me to hop in? I'll get us started. Okay.
Dr. Ellis, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sure, my pleasure. So just a few updates from the Council on Post-Secondary Education. Of course, President Thompson is incredibly busy, just like Dr. Glass is, and so I get to serve as his proxy, and he definitely wanted me to share a few of the highlights. So one of the things is that CPE recently received a $2.1 million grant from the James Graham Brown Foundation to house the Kentucky Student Success Collaborative. So this will serve the first as the first statewide center in the country that works with both 2- and 4-year institutions, linking campuses with business leaders and state policymakers. And so the goal is to help campuses develop innovative approaches that will improve graduation rates, close equity gaps, enhance workforce development, increase learning opportunities for emerging leaders in higher ed. And so this is in the development stage now of staffing this and establishing this center. We're extremely excited about it and excited about the opportunity. Also, just to bring to your attention, just a few weeks ago, on March 31st through April 2nd, CPE and Garrett, Kentucky actually combined forces and provided a virtual professional development called the Path Forward Forum. We had over 400 K-12 and higher education educators and professionals who attended, which was a nice combination of K-12 and post-secondary coming together to think about moving forward and this different time as students are learning to come out of the pandemic, and as well as adults, and just some things to think about as we help students get back on path and to success and be supportive. We were really pleased. The conference featured presentations from Matt Gandel from Education and Strategies Group, president of Education Strategy. Excuse me, he is the president of Education Strategies Group. We also had Dr. Vershelden, who came to talk to us. She's a special advisor to the American Council of Colleges and Universities. It was a great convening and lots of learning. Also, we are in the middle of reviewing 29 Summer Bridge Program grant proposals. We were given, about $3 million allowed to us from the GEARS funding with the Lieutenant Governor, who allowed us to use that as part of the CARES money. And what this is going to do is we had a proposal sought proposals for summer bridge programs for incoming freshmen into college campuses or freshmen going into their sophomore year. We know it was a very different year. This past year, many students struggled academically and socially. And then the students coming in from high school into a post-secondary institution is a challenge as it is in that transition, but definitely with all the changes that we had, we wanted to make sure and focus on providing additional supports with social and emotional supports, as well as academic supports to bring students in on campus earlier and then support them throughout the year to help them to really sustain and succeed. And so we are so pleased that we have 29 applicants. We have them from the KCTCS campuses, private and public four-year institutions. And so we'll be announcing those soon. We're all in the process of scoring those now, but really quite encouraged. And then, of course, continuing with keeping you updated on the Commonwealth Education Continuum. 2 weeks ago, we had our first set of work group meetings. We did open that up to the public to allow participation either through a work group, thought partner, or even being a part of our focus groups, which we're in the process of scheduling those now. So pleased with how well it was attended. We have great interest and momentum around the state to really improve this area of the pipeline of the transition, preparedness, and really success. So we will keep you posted on that. But other than that, I will turn it back to you, I guess, Rob. Thank you.
All right, I think Mr. Lyons has a report from Cabinet.
Yeah, I sure do. So I'll try to stay brief as well. So I know we have a lot to get to, but again, the Cabinet continues to focus on the 4 E's of the Cabinet and of this administration, which is expansion, exposure, experience, and expertise. But really the things we wanted to bring to this board today is kind of what we've been looking at, really focus more on that exposure and experience. The exposure to two different pathways, and as we continue to develop what those CTE pathways will look like, the Workforce Innovation Board and the Office of CTE have been working together to begin to put that list together of what those CTE pathways will be moving forward and what the jobs of the future are going to be. We want to be sure that our schools are able to provide the pathway experiences for our students for those jobs of the future. If those are through IT, through agritech, or through any of the other emerging fields for our state. We're also doing work through Perkins with the Perkins Leadership Monies. We're just finalized those recipients for the past year. We're already beginning to work on what that's going to look like with our leadership monies going forward, and really looking for innovative approaches from our post-secondary institutions, as well as what we're going to be doing in our secondary schools to be able to support them with leadership dollars, so that better instruction, building better pipelines of students going forward for so many of those pathways. And finally, in experience, is the Cabinet is really focused on developing different work-based learning opportunities. If those are through secondary or post-secondary places where we're getting students actually out into the workforce, we're really trying to marry what we're doing through education and in the workforce to give students experience, to be able to not only to give them that technical experience, but also that soft skill experience is going to enable them to be successful as they go forward from education into the workforce. And again, we're really excited to be able to support everything going on here at the Professional Standards Board. And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share today.
All right, Madam Chair, members of the board, it's good to be with you today. We have a lot to share about what's going on in OELE and the work that it supports for the EPSB. Again, OELE is proud to be the office that staffs and supports the work of the EPSB. I'm very proud of that work. On the EdPrep side of the office, we've got a lot going on. We are continuing with program reviews and accreditation visits. That work is still ongoing with a very small staff, but who's getting a lot of work done partnering with our EdPrep providers. We are currently working to develop a new model and process to use for program review. We anticipate being able to pilot the process that we feel is more reflective and evidence-based versus the input model that we currently use. This process has been used and tested by some of our education principal prep programs and has received some really good feedback. It's called the Quality Measures Program. And basically, it's a series of reflective questions that engage the whole group in examining and doing a deep dive and looking at their own programs versus having someone sitting alone with a computer program uploading files on an input basis. Like I said, we're going to be working to pilot that in the fall. Todd Davis is leading that work with our Ed Prep branch, and I really think that's going to be a good opportunity to really support the continuous improvement model that we champion with our Ed Prep providers in the future. On the certification side, we finally have launched and signed a contract with Randa to develop our platform. It's been 2 years in the making, and to be able to finally pull the trigger on this program is just absolutely exciting for us. Currently, there are about 60 homegrown applications that have been developed over the past 20 years that are being managed by about 4 people to do all of our electronic work for the EPSB. And while those programs were developed at a time where there wasn't a market for it and were created and developed and all of that in-house, there finally is a market and there are vendors out there who are doing this work. And so part of the KDE model is to try to have programs and platforms hosted by vendors and supported and operated by us. So if you look at Infinite Campus and Munis and other large programs, it's our goal to develop a program like that. This is a one-of-a-kind build for our country, for our ed prep system. So we're excited to be on the cutting edge of that work. The goal is to be able to start testing the certification side of things in December with our December graduates so that we can test the system when it's not under the complete load of the summer rush and be able to make sure that we have all the kinks worked out by graduation time next year. Randa has already started with moving files, and they're going to be operating the mechanisms behind the scene, but we decided it was not going to be in our best interest to try to rush a new platform into service when we do have a system. Although it can be a little slow at times, it does work, and we know how to use it. So there's going to be an automated portion of this for certification renewal. And when you think about each busy season, our staff of 6 or 7 personally touches and handles about 40,000 cases, depending on new certifications, endorsements, renewals, rank changes, all of those kinds of things. We're going to be able to provide a much better product and higher efficiency for our users. And so we're excited about that. With that as well, there will be a new program review program with that, a new legal case management system, and all the other ancillary systems that support those programs. So there will be, I'm sure, ongoing updates of how that progress is rolling. We were really excited that we were able to sign with Randa. They've done statewide programs, Colorado, Tennessee, Virginia, some other areas. So they're not new to this game, and they're out of Franklin, Tennessee, so they're also nearby. And we're just beyond excited to launch this. Todd Davis, Allison Bell, Margaret Hawkins Smith, Leah Sharp, Chelsea Young, Crystal Horden, Scott Smith poured a lot of time and effort into this. And I feel like I'm probably leaving some people out, and I apologize if I have, but the amount of work that went into developing the RFP for this project and the amount of work that it's going to take to make sure that all of the systems interact and that all of the business rules work the way they're supposed to is going to take a while. But we've decided that we really want to make sure that we go slow to be able to go fast later on, so that we're not kind of trapped into fits and starts along the way. Also want to give a huge shout out to our Office of Education, Technology, and Finance offices and their support to launch this. The project management work from Steve Rourke has been just incredible, and something that I think would have been very, very difficult for us to manage on our own. So we appreciate all the support that we have from them, as well as the finance cabinet. The busy season, as I referenced, is about to kick off in the next week or so. So our certification folks will be running at peak efficiency. One of the things that I was really pleased about during last summer during the pandemic, as you know, in March, KDE went full remote, and that has never occurred for certification. They all work from home, and we used to hire 4 to 5 seasonal retirees to help process all the work. We did not hire any seasonal help this last year. We didn't hire any additional people really to do the processing. They got more work done in less time and were more efficient during that period. So just kudos to this team, and I appreciate their hard work. And I know that this time next year, they may actually be looking forward to the high season. Right now, it's job security. It may even be pleasant next year. So just a preemptive thank you to them. So during the meeting today, you all are going to be very busy. You've got a lot of regulations to review, and you've got some action to take. I'd like to call attention to just a couple areas. There is the revision for 16 KR 5020, which is the regulation that sets the standards for admission into educator prep programs. This was last brought to you, I believe, in October, and has been over a year in the making with our associates from the Kentucky Association of College Teacher Education. They made a proposal February of 2020 at the AACTE conference in Atlanta. We brought it to the board in the fall. Then we sent it back to KACTE after some considerable dialogue back and forth to make sure that the recommendation went as far as we thought was appropriate. I will tell you that I'm pleased that we're going to propose some multiple measures for admission beyond just simply praxis. I will say that, and this is just Rob talking, I think that there will still be more work to be done in the future, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and you all will be reviewing and considering that for approval today. I'm also going to be presenting 2 Option 7 programs to you. I'm excited to be bringing those to you as well, and we'll talk much more about that during the action items. And then, as Dr. Glass referenced earlier, this will be my last meeting with the EPSB. I'm retiring effective May 1st after 28 years of service and education, and there will be another associate, a new one, working with you in June. It's been a pleasure and a privilege serving the board since 2016 as a board member, board chair, and then an associate commissioner. In this latest role, it's been really incredible learning so much more about educator prep and certification and how policy is developed and implemented at the state level. It's been a true pleasure working with all of the EPSB staff and the team members who formerly comprise the Division of Next Generation Professionals. Again, I've learned so much, and I've developed a deep appreciation for all of the complex work that goes on behind the scenes to support ed prep and teacher cert. I wish I had time at this meeting to share something about each of our team members, but I'll be sharing those with them at our OELE team meeting later on this week. I just will say that I was blessed to work with all of our team members who are all professionals who give their all every day to support opportunity and access for all the kids of Kentucky to effective teaching and strong instruction. I'd like to specifically give a few words of thanks. Dr. Wayne Lewis, former commissioner, who gave me the opportunity to do this work. For interim Commissioner Kevin Brown for his support during a very difficult transitional time. And to Dr. Glass for his support and vision and his model of empowering his associates to carry the work forward. My approach to the work has tried to be to develop a climate of collaboration and support, and I believe we've made some progress toward that goal over the past 2.5 years. As always, it's my goal that maybe we'll be a little better today than we were yesterday, and a little better tomorrow than we are today. So, Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to provide this report and to share my appreciation with the board and the OELE team, and I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Do members of the board have any questions for Dr. Ellis, Mr. Lyons, or Associate Commissioner Akers? I do have one question, Commissioner Akers, about the new software program. What kind of change is that going to make for educators who are applying for their certifications? I understand the changes that it's going to make on your side, but is there anything that we're going to need to do to be able to communicate to educators the changes?
Well, there won't be any noticeable changes till this time next year. Okay. Everything will look the same on the front end, and that was by design. Now, our goal with this work is to allow educators to automatically renew their certifications on their own without having to be touched by multiple people. to have different checks and balances in the system to allow the applicant to know exactly where they are in the process and to help them along the way if something hasn't been loaded right, or not to be able to submit until everything is in place. So that we hope that it is a more comprehensive experience on the front end, and being able to automate some of the processes, I think is going to be huge as well. So again, we're building a system that doesn't exist anywhere exactly. So we believe that Randa has the platform that we'll be able to attach all of these programs to make it work. But I do anticipate Randa being able to come and give some presentations along the way to show you all the progress that they're making on the platform. Really excited and have very high hopes for what this is going to be.
Excellent, thanks. Does anyone else have any questions for the presenters? So here we go. Oh, wait, did I hear someone?
Lisa, this is Sherry Power. I just wanted to officially thank Rob for his service on the board, also just as a colleague over the years. So Rob, we'll miss you, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherry. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. And I think Dr. Powers echoes, speaks for all of us. You know, this board came into being and you guided myself personally and the board as a whole, and have just set the bar very high, and the example that you have set throughout your professional career in public education, and the students and educators that you have impacted have made a difference in this Commonwealth, and congratulations on retirement.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we're going to move to reports of the chair. I would like to recognize former EPSB members. Sarah Green, Stephen Scribner, and Josh Trosper were appointed to the EPSB in August of 2020 to represent middle school teachers, local boards of education, and school administrators. Josh Trosper also served the EPSB as vice chair and was a member of the waiver committee. Deputy Secretary Mary Pat Reagan previously served the EPSB as the designee of the Workforce and Education Development Cabinet. All members were dedicated to the work of the board, and I would like to thank them for their service. Hopefully some of them are watching today. We miss you, we thank you for your service, and we wish you well as you continue serving our education community. Next, I'll move to appointment to the waiver committee. The board's procedures establish a waiver committee that meets prior to the board meetings to review the waiver requests and make recommendations to the full board. The waiver committee consists of one teacher, one administrator, and one higher education representative. I now appoint Tracy Hunt to serve as the administrator on this committee. Thank you, Ms. Hunt, for your willingness to serve. I'll move on to appointments to the Code of Ethics Review Committee. In 2017, the board established the Code of Ethics Review Committee based on recommendations from the Combating Inappropriate Student-Teacher Relationship Task Force. The committee is tasked with reviewing the Professional Code of Ethics for Kentucky Certified School Personnel and the Model Code of Ethics for Educators. I appoint Kathy Gunn, Tracy Hunt, Jacqueline Mayfield, Justin Mitchell, and myself to this committee. Dr. Hedgepeth has agreed to continue to serve on this committee. Thank you all for your willingness to serve. Next, we'll move on to nomination and election of vice chair. The vice chair of the EPSB is responsible to carry out the duties of the chair in her absence and to assist the chair as necessary. Today, the board will need to elect a vice chair. I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Madam Chair, I would like to nominate Justin Mitchell.
Dr. Hedgepeth nominates Justin Mitchell. Justin, do you accept the nomination? Wait, I think I need a second, probably.
Amanda Ellis, I second.
Thank you. Justin Mitchell is nominated for vice chair. and seconded. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, the nominations are now closed. The nomination for the board, before the board, is for Justin Mitchell to serve as vice chair. The members will now vote on this nomination. Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Holly,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approve.
voting is complete.
Thank you, and the motion carries. Congratulations, Vice Chair Mitchell. Lastly, I would just like to briefly state and touch upon something that Commissioner Glass mentioned in his remarks regarding the vacancy on as Associate Commissioner to fill those large shoes of Mr. Akers. As this is a special called board meeting, we can't do anything formally since it wasn't on the agenda, but I would like to suggest to members, if you are interested in being a part of the committee to review the applicants and make a recommendation to Commissioner Glass as far as those to carry on to the interview phase of the process, please send me an email and I'll reach out to you informally after the meeting is over to establish some timeframes. I don't think they finalized the applicants. I know the position closed last Friday, but I anticipate this being a very, very quick turnaround based on the communication that I've had with the commissioner. So if you've got a period of time, and 15 to 20 applicants is what it sounds like, but we'll be reviewing those documents and then making some recommendations to the commissioner. So just send me an email and then I'll reach out to you individually. Those of you that have expressed interest, I want to make sure that we have a good cross-section of folks from EPSB representing the education community as we review those. And that completes my report from the chair. Next, we have information items. These items are presented to the board for review and discussion only. All information items will be presented by Cassie Trueblood. We will begin with information item A. And for those of you reading along, I don't have the page. We're on page 24 of the April agenda book. Ms. Trueblood.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. These next three information items are all a part of the ongoing regulation review that the board has been doing. This is a part of the requirements of 13A to avoid expiration of regulations. 13A does require that in order for the regulation not to expire, that the agency go through a review the regulation in its entirety to ensure that it does comply with the current laws that are governing that subject matter. And then if the agency wishes to keep those regulations in effect, they can avoid the expiration process by filing a letter stating that you wish to keep the regulation as is, or that you are certifying it with the intent to amend. If you file a letter stating that you intend to amend the regulation, you then have 18 months in which to complete that process and go ahead and get that filed with the Legislative Research Commission to avoid the expiration. All three of these regulations were previously certified by the board with the intent to amend. So those letters were filed in February of last year, and the amended regulation has to be filed with LRC prior to August 26 for the regulations to remain in effect. So that does apply to all three of these, but specifically starting with information item A, this is regulation 16 KAR 2180, which is the 1-year conditional certificate. This 1-year conditional certificate is created by statutes. It's contained in KRS 161030, and this is the certificate that is available to an individual who has completed an Ed Prep program, has taken all of the assessments for certification, but has failed to successfully complete those assessments at this time. So they can be granted a 1-year conditional certificate while completing those assessments. During that time, they do have to have ongoing mentoring from both their employing district and the EPP. But the amendments specifically to this regulation are going to remove the reference to an outdated application, also update the grade point average to align with other certificates, which is that 2.75 on a 4.0 scale. And then that is what we have done with this regulation, and that one is included in your agenda book starting on page 25 if there are any questions. Crystal Horde is also on this call to answer any specific certification questions that you may have. Okay. And if there are no questions on this regulation, I'm ready to move to the second one whenever you are.
Okay, we'll move to information item B.
Okay, information item B, also part of this regulation review. This is 16 KAR 3070, endorsement for individual intellectual assessment. This administrative regulation does provide for a program of preparation and certification leading to that certificate endorsement. These endorsements can only be issued to school counselors, so you do have to have the school counselor certificate to obtain this endorsement. Therefore, the proposed amendment to the regulation updates the renewal and reissuance requirements for that endorsement to align with the updated requirements that this board is making to the school counselor regulation, which you will see later on today under the action items. The amended regulation is also included in your agenda book. And are there any questions about this one?
Hearing none, we'll move on to information item C.
Okay. Information item C is 16 KAR 4050, and this is the administrative regulation for the dating of certificates. This establishes the effective and expiration dates for certificates that the board issues, and the proposed amendment adds a section to address the dating of 1-year provisional and probationary certificates. These certificates are only valid for 1 calendar year, and therefore they require a different procedure. Specifically, if a 1-year provisional or probationary certificate is issued after the start of the spring semester, it will be valid for that spring semester as well as the fall semester, and will have an expiration date of December 31st. The amendment removes the reference to the Office of Teacher Education and Certification, which is no longer an operational office. Are there any questions about this regulation? Okay. With all three of these regulations, we will be bringing these back to you, hopefully at our June meeting for action.
Thank you. Ms. Trueblood, does anyone have any questions about information items A, B, or C? Moving on to action items, and I believe we're on page 38 of your April agenda book. These items are presented to the board for action and will require a motion and a vote. Action item A is being presented by Ms. Allison Bell. Ms. Bell, welcome.
Good morning and thank you. Action item A is the revision to 16 KAR 3060, which is the regulation for the school counselor P12 certification. The amendments that have been made to this regulation include changing the title of the certificate from guidance counselor to school counselor to reflect the current standards for the preparation program, which were adopted by the EPSB in August of 2019, and updates to the requirements for renewal and reissuance of the certificate. The amendment proposes to allow candidates to renew the provisional certificate with a minimum of 3 hours of graduate credit. For candidates who have completed all the coursework for the standard certificate, but not yet completed the employment experience, they could renew their provisional upon meeting the renewal requirements for the teaching certificate. The amendment also aligns the renewal requirements for the standard certificate with similar renewal requirements for the advanced educational leaders. This would allow for renewal based on 2 years of experience, 6 hours of graduate credit, or the required ELA hours. The amendment would also require 6 graduate hours for reissuance of the provisional, rather than the current 9 semester hours. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bell. The question before the board is, should the EPSB approve the amendment to 16 KAR 3:060? Is there a motion?
Justin Mitchell, I make a motion to approve 16 KAR 3060, school counselor provisional and standard certificates for all grades.
Motion made by Vice Chair Mitchell. Is there a second?
I second that motion. Amber Snell.
Thank you, Ms. Snell. There is a motion and a second. The motion before the board is to approve the amendment to 16 KAR 3:060. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rosinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approve.
voting is complete.
Thank you, and the motion passes. Next, we have action item B, also presented by Ms. Bell, and we're on page 47. Ms. Bell?
Action item B is the proposed amendment to the admissions regulation 16 KAR 5020. These amendments are being proposed to provide flexibility for applicants to demonstrate academic readiness for admission to an educator preparation program. This amendment incorporates recommendations from the Kentucky Association of Colleges of Teacher Education, as well as the feedback from the EPSB regarding admissions criteria for initial undergraduate and graduate educator preparation programs. When these regulation amendments were presented to the EPSB for a first read during the December 2020 EPSB meeting, the amendments included adding the ACT scores as an admission assessment option, allowing a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or better to be used to substitute for a case assessment that falls within 1 to 5 points below the identified minimum score for each assessment area, and removing the test requirement for initial graduate educator preparation programs, with the exception of the Option 7 programs, which the statute KRS 161048, Section 8 requires. After the December meeting, KACTE leadership requested additional time to review the admission requirements and amend their proposal. KACTE's revised proposal identified 5 options for applicants to demonstrate academic readiness for admission. Option 1 included individual ACT scores of 20 in reading, 18 in writing, and 19 in math. Option 2 includes a composite ACT score of 22. Option 3 identifies the praxis case scores of reading 156, writing 162, and math 150. Option 4 is a combination of ACT and case scores that demonstrate academic competency in reading, writing, and math. Option 5 of their proposal was for applicants whose ACT or case scores fall below the required benchmarks, must have a GPA of 3.0, and complete with a grade of B or better specific EPP identified course or courses requiring competencies in the areas of need, reading, writing, and/or mathematics. These courses must be taken at an accredited educator preparation provider. In the proposal, KACTE notes that option 5 should only be used after applicants have attempted to meet the requirements of either the ACT or the case. The proposal also recommends that the admission assessment be removed for graduate programs. Staff reviewed the recent KACTE proposal and has updated the regulation to incorporate options 1 through 4. As with the previous draft, the updated amendment removes the testing requirement for most initial graduate educator preparation programs. However, staff does not support the inclusion of KACTE's option 5. This option would create a subjective standard that would vary among institutions. Instead, staff recommends retaining the option from the previous amended regulation that allows a cumulative GPA average of 3.0 or better to substitute for a case assessment that falls within 1 to 5 points below the identified minimum score for each assessment area. Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. Is the proposed revision include the staff recommendation to omit option 5, or do we need to take action separately on option 5?
I'm going to defer to Cassie Trueblood on this one.
Thank you.
Yes, so the proposed amendment before you does omit option 5. The proposed amendment to the regulation is the one that staff has supported and is included in your materials.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Bell?
So there are still 5 options. I would just clarify.
Yes, instead of the, so the revised proposal had the 5 options. However, staff did not support the 5th option and instead retained the option from the previous proposal that would allow for that, that kind of the grace period if you had that 3.0 on the case assessment.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Bell. The question before the board is, should the EPSB approve the amendment to 16 KAR 5:020? Is there a motion?
Amanda Ellis, so moved.
Dr. Ellis with the motion to approve amendment 16 KAR 5:020. Is there a second?
Kathy Gunn, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. The motion before the board is to approve the amendment to 16 KAR 5:020. Is there any discussion? I don't hear anybody, so Ms. Jesser, will you please take the roll?
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approved.
Jillian Vasquez, Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
voting is complete.
And the motion passes. Next, we will have action item C presented by Ms. Trueblood, and we're on page 57. Ms. Trueblood?
So action item C is again a part of this ongoing regulation review that you are doing. This is 16 KAR 9020, which is the provisional certificate for college faculty. This regulation establishes the provisional certificate and the requirements for obtaining and maintaining that certificate. It had a last effective date of February 11th, 2002, and the board did file a letter certifying the regulation with the intent to amend on February 27th of last year. However, as staff began working through the review and amendment process, it was determined that this regulation is no longer necessary. The route for college faculty to become certified is established in is in KRS 161048, and that certificate is contained now in 16 KAR 9030. And this provisional certificate that is contained in 9020 has actually not been utilized since 2011. Therefore, staff is recommending that the board not file an amendment to this regulation and allow the regulation to expire. Are there any questions?
Hearing none, the question before the board is, should the EPSB approve the expiration of 16 KAR Is there a motion?
Elijah Edwards, I make the motion to approve the expiration of 16 KAR 9020.
Motion by Mr. Edwards. Is there a second?
Jacqueline Mayfield, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to approve the expiration of 16 KAR 9020. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approved.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rosinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
voting is complete.
Thank you, and that motion carries. Next, we will have action item D, page 59, and Ms. Trueblood will present that as well. Ms. Trueblood.
16 KAR 9090 is the university-based alternative certification program for teachers of world languages. This amendment was before you at the February meeting for first reading, and we are bringing it back for action at this time. This regulation establishes the program requirements and candidate qualifications for those applicants in this program. The proposed amendment removes the reference to an outdated application, states the required grade point average for admission to the program, and clarifies the requirements for the evaluation of international transcripts. The amended regulation is included in your meeting materials. Are there any questions?
Thank you. The question before the board is, should the EPSB approve the amendment to 16 KAR 9090? Is there a motion?
This is Tracy Hunt. I make a motion to approve the 16 KAR 9:090 amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Is there a second?
Justin Mitchell, second.
Mr. Mitchell with the second. The motion before the board is to approve the amendment to 16 KAR 9090. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approved.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rosinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez, Heilig.
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
Voting is complete.
Thank you, and that motion passes. Next, we have action item E being presented by Associate Commissioner Akers. We are on page 68.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be presenting two proposals to you related to this. Option 7, just as a little bit of background, the General Assembly in Kentucky created 8 different alternate routes to certification beyond the traditional preparation programs established and approved in our EPPs. This is a reminder that because they are in statute, they are in the law, the EPSB is charged with promoting and implementing these programs. Over the past couple years, there's been a lot of movement around the Option 7 program, which used to be in existence at the University of Kentucky and at Northern Kentucky University, was used strictly to certify foreign language teachers and some native speakers. As a quick pathway. They existed in a summer boot camp model with some wraparound support from the EPPs. So we have 2 proposals for you today. They are different, but both are being supported in collaboration with an EPP. And so I would like to speak specifically first about the Central Kentucky Education Cooperative's proposal. This proposal is aimed at the recruitment and certification of special ed teachers in particular. They've seen this as a need from their member school districts and are working and have MOAs with and MOUs with their member schools to provide this service. Their application went through a thorough staff review and then was reviewed externally. Our external committee is made up of a member from an EPP, an education cooperative, and a local district. I sat in on all of the review meetings and was really impressed with the conversation, the level of review that occurred, and we were able to, well, they were able to provide meaningful feedback and ask good questions. And at this time, the proposal under this action item is for the Central Kentucky Education Co-op for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Hearing none, the action question before the board is, should the EPSB approve Central Kentucky Educational Cooperative's Option 7 Institute proposal? Is there a motion?
I make the motion that we approve the Option 7 CKEC's alternative certification.
Dr. Ellis with the motion. Thank you. Is there a second?
Jacqueline Mayfield, I second.
Ms. Mayfield with the second. Thank you. The motion before the board is to approve Central Kentucky Educational Cooperative's Option 7 Institute proposal. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, I recuse.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Jillian Vasquez, Heilig.
Julian Vasquez Heilig, abstain.
Voting is complete.
And the motion passes. Next, we have action item F, also presented, I believe, by Commissioner Akers. We are on page 71.
All right, thank you. This is the second proposal under the option 7 route. This one comes from Nelson County Schools and is a little bit of a different program where the CKEC was going to kind of serve as a hub to service its member districts. Nelson County is really looking at using this option as a way to grow your own and retain their teachers. They've developed a bit of almost like a professional ladder for educators to get certification, to gain rank change, and use that as a pipeline to gain national board certification over the course of 3 to 6 years, depending on how they progress through the program. They want to be able to have the ability to train their own teachers. They also have partnered with an EPP, and the EPP will be providing curriculum assessments and staff support, faculty support. So both of these programs could have gone it alone and been able to make the proposal and application on their own without that collaboration, but they did decide to partner with an approved EPP to collaborate on this proposal. So the Nelson County Schools proposal is before you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. So the question before the board is, should the EPSB approve Nelson County Schools option 7 institute proposal? Is there a motion?
I move that we need to approve the Nelson County option 7 proposal.
Dr. Ellis, with the motion, is there a second?
Amber Snell, I second.
Ms. Snell with the second. So the motion before the board is to approve Nelson County Schools option 7 institute proposal. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, recuse.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Jillian Vasquez, Heilig.
Julian Vasquez Heilig, abstain.
Voting is complete.
And the motion passes. That concludes action items. Next, we'll thank you very much, Ms. Trueblood, Ms. Bell, Associate Commissioner Akers. Next, we'll move to waivers. The board is KRS 161.028 subsection 1R provides that the board has the authority to waive its administrative regulations when a request is submitted by an applicant for certification, a post-secondary institution, or a superintendent of a local school district. When requesting a waiver, the requesting party must submit to the board a written request along with appropriate justification for the waiver. EPSB staff reviewed the waivers with the EPSB's waiver committee during an open meeting immediately prior to this meeting, and the waiver committee formulated recommendations. Kathy Jackson, Allison Bell, and Crystal Horde will present the waiver request to the full board, and waiver committee members will present the committee's recommendation for final action. We'll start with waiver A on page 74, presented by Kathy Jackson. Ms. Jackson?
Good morning. We have a waiver before us for Regulation 16 KAR 5040, Section 5, Number 4. It's for the regulation of the 70 days for student teaching. 7 universities have requested this waiver, and their documentation follows the staff note. They each submitted a waiver request, a list of the students and the number of days, and a letter from their dean supporting this. District closures due to COVID-19 have made it impossible for many students to complete 70 days before the close of spring 21 semester. School closures are out of control of the students and the EPPs. However, both have made good faith efforts to complete as many days as possible. So this is the waiver request, and the 7 institutions are Campbellsville University, Georgetown College, Kentucky Wesleyan College, Murray State University, Northern Kentucky University, Transylvania University, and the University of the Cumberlands.
Thank you. Does a member of the waiver committee have a recommendation?
Yes, Sherry Powers. The waiver committee met this morning to review the waiver request and supporting documentation. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board approve the waiver request.
Thank you. This is on the agenda for action, and the question is, should the Education and Professional Standards Board approve the waiver of student teaching days due to district closings for the listed institutions? Do I have a motion?
Justin Mitchell, I move to approve 16 KAR 5040 at this time.
Thank you, Vice Chair Mitchell. Do I have a second?
Jacqueline Mayfield, I second.
Ms. Mayfield with the second. The motion before the board is to approve the waiver of student teaching days due to district closings for Campbellsville University, Georgetown College, Kentucky Wesleyan, Murray State University, Northern Kentucky University, Transylvania University, and the University of the Cumberlands as listed under waiver request A. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Patty Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, recuse.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rosinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approve.
all members have voted.
Thank you, and the motion passes. Next, we have waiver B. Ms. Jackson?
Yes. Waiver B is from Morehead State University. It's found on page 105 of your document. It is section 5, number 4D1. They are asking that they have a theater major, and the regulation states that when a candidate pursues a K through 12 certification, that the placement should be divided between an elementary and a middle school, high school setting. Elementary theater placements are rarely found in our public schools. So they are asking that she serve in middle school, 2 placements, one in middle school and one in high school, since they can't find an elementary placement.
Thank you. And does the waiver committee have a recommendation?
Yeah, the waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by Morehead State University, and the committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board approve the waiver request.
Thank you. So the question before the board is, should EPSB approve Morehead State University's alternate student teaching placement request for Alyssa Francis? Is there a motion?
Jacqueline Mayfield, I move to support 16 KAR 5040.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Amber Snell, I second.
Ms. Snell, I heard you with the second. Thank you very much. The motion before the board is to approve waiver B, Morehead State University's alternate student teaching placement request for Alyssa Francis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approved.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Brzezinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
all members have voted.
Thank you. And the motion passes. Next, we are going to move on to waiver C. It is on page 107, and it will be presented by Ms. Bell. Ms. Bell?
Morehead State University has requested a waiver of the admission requirements for the Director of Special Education Program on behalf of Ms. Stacy Ligori. Dr. Tony Norman, Dean of the College of Education at Morehead State University, is requesting the EPSB waive the portions of 16 KAR 3090 that require applicants for admission to have completed at least 3 years of full-time teaching, with a minimum of 1 year as a teacher of exceptional children. She was issued a Kentucky Teaching Certificate for Social Studies for grades 5 through 9 and 8 through 12, based upon her out-of-state New York certification. Ms. Ligori was alternatively certified for special education in New York, and that certification did not transfer to Kentucky. Since 2014, Ms. Ligori has been employed as an academic program consultant at the Kentucky Department of Education in the Office of Special Education and Early Learning. Morehead State University requests that Ms. Ligori's previous teaching experience and the experience with KDE be considered as appropriate experience to meet the requirements for admission to their Director of Special Education program.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Does the waiver committee have a recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by Morehead State University. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board approve the waiver request.
Thank you. So the question before the board is in reference to waiver request C. Should the EPSB approve Morehead State University's request to waive the admission requirements for Stacy Ligori to allow her to be admitted to Morehead's Director of Special Education program? Is there a motion?
Jacqueline Mayfield, I make the motion to approve 16 KAR 3:090, the request to waive requirements for admission to the Director of Special Education program for Stacy Ligori.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. A second?
Tracy Hunt, I second that motion.
Ms. Hunt with the second. The motion before the board is to approve Morehead State University's request to waive the admission requirements for Stacy Ligori to allow her to be admitted to Morehead's Director of Special Education program listed as waiver C. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
all members have voted.
Thank you, and the motion passes. Next, we have waiver D on page 112, presented by Ms. Hoare.
Thank you. Waiver D is requested by Miss Julia Parsons. She is requesting a waiver of 16 KAR 8:020 section 2 to allow her master's degree from University of Louisville in higher education administration to be accepted as a rank 2 appropriate degree for her teacher certification.
Thank you. Does the waiver committee have a recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request and supporting documentation submitted by the applicant. The committee did not find exceptional circumstances to justify the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board deny the waiver request.
Thank you. So the question before the board is, should the Education Professional Standards Board approve the applicant's request to allow the previous master's degree to meet the requirements for rank 2? Is there a motion?
Elijah Edwards, I make the motion to deny Waiver request D.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Amanda Ellis, second.
Dr. Ellis with the second, thank you. The motion before the board is to deny the applicant's request to allow previous master's degree to meet the requirements for rank 2 in reference to waiver D. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, agree.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Brzezinski,
Lisa Rodzinski, yes.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Haig,
Julian Vasquez Halle, I approve the motion.
all members have voted.
Thank you, and the motion passes. Next, we have waiver E presented by Ms. Ford, and we're on page 118. Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Waiver E is requested by Mr. Frederick Whitaker. This is a waiver of 16 KAR 6:010 and the requirement that says that the praxis test scores must be within 5 years old. Mr. Whitaker completed an option 6 MAT program at University of Louisville in 2012. Since that time, he has been consistently employed as a middle school science teacher in the Catholic school system. Middle school science was also the area of his MAT program. However, he did not apply for certification immediately after completion of KTIP when he finished that program. Therefore, his test scores have expired. He is requesting that the board will approve allowing his passing test scores that have expired to count towards earning his state certificate.
Thank you. Does the waiver committee have a recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request and supporting documentation submitted by the applicant. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board grant the waiver.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to approve the waiver.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Who was that?
Amber Snell.
Thank you, Ms. Snell. Ms. Snell with the motion. Is there a second?
Justin Mitchell, second.
There's a motion and a second before the board on waiver E. Approve the applicant's request to allow the expired passing assessment scores qualify for issuance of the certificate. Waiver E. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Bowers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Holly,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approve.
all members have voted.
Thank you, and the motion on waiver E passes. Moving on to waiver F, page 147.
And waiver F is requested by Ms. April Wilhoit. This is also a waiver request of 16 KAR 6:010 and the 5-year assessment recency requirement. Ms. Wilhoit completed a rank 2 program for ESL through Asbury in 2009. She did not did not take the assessment until 2011, at which time she was unaware that she needed to resubmit application to have the endorsement added to her certification. Since that time, she has instructed ESL students in her classroom, although not just teaching ESL only. Only recently did she realize that the endorsement had not been added to her certificate, and her test has now since expired. So she is asking the board to waive the 5-year recency requirement to allow her passing ESL score count towards adding the endorsement at this time.
Thank you. Does the waiver committee have a recommendation on waiver F?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by the applicant. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board grant the waiver.
Thank you. So the question before the board is, should the board approve the applicant's request to allow the expired passing assessment scores to qualify for issuance of a certificate? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve waiver F.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn, with the motion. Is there a second?
Amber Snell, I second.
Hearing a motion and a second, the motion before the board is to approve the applicant's request to allow expired passing assessment scores to qualify for issuance of a certificate listed as waiver F. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Holly,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
all members have voted.
Thank you, and the motion on waiver F passes. Last, we have waiver G, also presented by Ms. Ward. We're on page 150. Ms. Ward?
Thank you. Waiver G is our final waiver. This is also requesting a waiver of the same regulation, 16 KAR 6:010, and the 5-year testing recency requirement. Miss Mary Shoemaker is requesting this waiver. She completed an advanced program to add elementary certification to her existing IECE teaching certificate. In the process of doing so, she had already taken 3 of the tests and for the elementary praxis test in 2015. She was scheduled to take the mathematics portion of the elementary test in 2020 when the testing sites closed due to COVID. She has since taken that test and passed the math portion. However, since that time, her other 3 tests have just expired. So she is requesting a waiver of the 5-year recency requirement so that we can accept all 4 subsections of the elementary praxis 2 test.
Thank you. Does the waiver committee have a recommendation?
Yes. I need to ask Cassie a procedural question here. I need to recuse myself from this waiver. Is it okay for me to read the recommendation, though, to the board from the waiver committee?
Since you will be recusing, it would be best to have another one of the members read the recommendation.
I have the script pulled up.
Okay. Thank you.
To verify, we were on G, correct?
That is correct. We are discussing waiver G.
Okay, the waiver committee reviewed the waiver submitted by the applicant. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the board grant this waiver.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. The question before the board is, should the EPSB board approve waiver G, the applicant's request to allow the expired passing assessment scores to qualify for issuance of a certificate? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that the board approves waiver G and accepts the expired test as satisfactory.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. Is there a second?
Chambers.
I heard 2 people at the same time and I couldn't tell who either of them were.
Jacqueline Mayfield, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to approve waiver G, the applicant's request to allow the expired passing assessment scores to qualify for issuance of a certificate. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, recuse myself.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rodzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Heilig,
Julian Vasquez Heilig, approved.
all members have voted.
And the motion passes. We've concluded waivers. We'll now move on to alternative routes to certification applications. These applications these applicants, are pursuing the option 1 exceptional work experience route to certification. This is one of the alternative routes established by the legislature in KRS 161.048. An applicant with exceptional work experience must have an offer of employment from a local school district, a bachelor's or graduate's degree meeting minimum GPA requirements, and an academic major or a passing score on the academic content assessment in the area in which certification is being sought. The board will need to determine if the applicant's work experience constitutes exceptional work experience. Both applications will be presented by Ms. Horde. We're on page 153. Ms. Horde?
Thank you. Our first option 1 application is for Miss Stacy Von Rowan. She has an offer of employment from Jefferson County Public Schools as an ASL, American Sign Language teacher. Her work experience includes over 20 years of experience as an educational interpreter for sign language. She has served as an interpreter for Jefferson County Public Schools board meetings, for professional development seminars, as an interpreter for ARC meetings, and any other meetings required by the district. She's also served as an interpreter for students in the drama club, and she meets all of the requirements for this route, including GPA and also holding a degree in interpreting training for deaf and hard of hearing and American Sign Language. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have about this.
Hearing no questions, the action question before the board is, should the board approve the alternate route to certification application for Stacy Von Rowan? Is there a motion?
Donna Hedgepath, I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Hedgepath. Is there a second?
Amanda Ellis, second.
The motion before the board is to approve the alternate route to certification application for Stacy Von Rowan. Alternate route, letter A. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Anita Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rodzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
Julian Vasquez Halig. Voting is
Thank you, and the motion passes. Next, we'll move on to application B, also presented by Ms. Horde. Ms. Horde? Oh, we're on page 181.
Thank you. The second application for option 1 exceptional work experience is for Miss Christina Crocker Escribano. Ms. Escribano has an offer of employment also from Jefferson County Schools in the area of middle grades English. She has a bachelor's degree in English, a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. Ms. Escribano has over 13 years of work experience in the area of literacy and creative writing. She has taught creative writing classes in the form of, and also creating workshops for middle and high school students. She's also facilitated community-based writing projects for local schools and community centers. She has also taught and developed courses at the collegiate level. Upon review of her application and credentials, she meets all requirements for the option 1 route. And I would be happy to answer any questions on this one as well.
Thank you. So the question before the board is, should the Education Professional Standards Board approve the alternate route to certification application under letter B for Christina Crocker Escribano? Is there a motion?
Tracy Hunt, I make a motion to approve the alternate route.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Is there a second?
Kathy Gunn, I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. The motion before the board is to approve the alternative route to certification for Christina Crocker Escribano as listed under application B. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approved.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa
Rodzinski, approve.
Amber Snell,
Amber Snell, approve.
voting is complete.
Thank you, and the motion passes. That completes applications for alternative certification. I will now open the floor. Thank you to the members of KDE for presenting all of those for us. I will now open the floor to any board member for board comments. Does anyone have anything they wish to share? Okay, at this time, I believe we are ready to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810, subsection 1C and J, to conduct a character and fitness review and to review potential actions related to complaints and reports. The board will also review pending litigation. And at this time, I will need a motion to go into closed session.
Sherry Powers, I make a motion to go into closed session.
Dr. Powers, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Amanda Ellis.
Dr. Ellis, thank you. The motion now before the board is a motion to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Chesser, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approved.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jack Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rosinski, yes.
Amber Snell.
Amber Snell, approve.
Voting is complete.
Thank you. We are, the motion passes. We are now ready to move into closed session. At this time, we will vote on those items discussed during closed session. I will report out all of the decisions and then we will take a roll call vote. Members, please be sure to state your name and then at the beginning, any particular item that you have a different vote. I'll start with character and fitness. Number 1, deny. Numbers 2 through 15, approve. Next, I'll move on to the CA4 online character and fitness. Number 1, deny. Numbers 2 through 12, approve. Next, I'll move to agreed orders. Numbers 1 through 17, accept. Next, I'll move to findings of fact, conclusions of law, recommended orders, and appeal rights. Number 1, accept the recommended order. Next, motions to reconsider. Number 1, deny. Number 2, deny. And number 3, deny. Moving on to educator cases. Educator cases numbers 1 through 3, admonish. Number 4 through number 9, attorney review. Number 10, admonish and train on educator ethics. Number 11, defer for training, educator ethics, effective communication. Numbers 12 and 13, attorney review. Number 14, defer for training, educator ethics and cultural sensitivity training. Numbers 15 through 20, numbers 15 through 20, attorney review. Number 21, admonish and train, Kentucky High School Athletic Association health protocols. Numbers 22, admonish and train, educator ethics. Numbers 23 and 24, dismiss. 25, defer for training, administrative code training. 26 through 31, dismiss. 32, defer for training, administrative code training. 33 through 35, dismiss. 36, defer for training, administrative code. 37 through 41, dismiss. 42 through 44, defer for training, administrative code. 45 through 48, dismiss. 49, defer for training, administrative code. 50, dismiss. 51, defer for training, administrative code. Administrative code. Number 51, defer for training, administrative code. 52 through 62, dismiss. 63, defer for training, administrative code. 64 through 67, dismiss. 68, defer for training, administrative code. 69, dismiss. 70, defer for training, classroom management. 71 and 72, attorney review. 73, defer for training, Red Book and policy and procedures on volunteers. 74, admonish and train, certification, hiring, and educator ethics. 75, defer for training, certification, and educator ethics. 76, defer for training, certification, and educator ethics. 77, dismiss. 78, attorney review. 79, admonish and train, certification, hiring process, and educator ethics. 80, 81, and 82 refer to hearing. 83 through 100, dismiss. We will now take a roll vote. Ms. Sharp?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Eli Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, agree to all.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve all.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, agree to all.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve on all.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, agree to all.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, agree to all.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, agree to all.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, agreed to all.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, agree on all.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, character and fitness, CA4 online, number 12, I dissent. The rest agree to all, agree to the rest.
Amber Snell.
Amber Snell, agree to all.
Voting is complete.
Thank you very much. At this time, I will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Amanda Ellis.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Is there a second?
Amber Snell, second.
Thank you, Ms. Snell. The motion before the board is a motion to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Sharp, please call the roll.
Elijah Edwards,
Elijah Edwards, approve.
Amanda Ellis,
Amanda Ellis, approve.
Kathy Gunn,
Kathy Gunn, approve.
Donna Hedgepath,
Donna Hedgepath, approve.
Tracy Hunt,
Tracy Hunt, approve.
John Lyons,
John Lyons, approve.
Jacqueline Mayfield,
Jacqueline Mayfield, approve.
Justin Mitchell,
Justin Mitchell, approve.
Sherry Powers,
Sherry Powers, approve.
Lisa Rosinski,
Lisa Rudzinski, approve.
Amber Snell.
Amber Snell, approve.
Voting is complete.
And the motion carries. I'd like to remind the board members that our next regular meeting is Monday, June 21st, 2021, and we will send out additional information regarding the location of that meeting at a future time.